What up, y'all? Yeah, it's the holiday season. Once a Grove, thanks for tuning in to another episode of C4CW Casting 495 Celebrities Worldwide. I am your host, the host of this show. If you are true fans, then we 495 most certainly appreciate you. And for any and all supporters, we welcome any and all support. Cash App link is in the description of this video. $ Aerospace Development. Thank each and every one of you for your ongoing continued support. So, it's that time of year where a lot of cats are kicking back playing video games. I need to get a video game system, man. I really do. Man, I was checking out some shit online the other day and noticed, man, that by the way, I'm back in engineering mode. I'm back in school. Yeah. The Flight Navigator. Once-er Grove. OSGOE. Dipping through, floating through hyperspace. Rolling. City to city, state to state. Prefecture to prefecture. You feel me? The multiverse. Yeah, so I'm back in engineering mode. And I'm really focused on the field of engineering, electrical engineering, and other related fields, subfields, and topics. So I noticed, because as someone who tinkers around with electronics, coming from a background in electronics engineering, now studying in the field of electrical engineering at the master's level, because they are advanced courses, the field of electronics engineering and related fields, mathematics, physics, it really is all kind of a video game if you think about it. And so I'm a big video game dude. Like, I love video games. I haven't had a system in a long time because I've spent way too much fucking money in college taking all these different courses here and there at this school, that school, traveling. You know what I'm saying? Hashtag rhyme traveler. Chronicles of a Rhyme Traveler. Just rhyme traveling, man. So, just exploring hyperspace, the multiverse. And so, man, spending way fucking too much money on higher education because I like school. I just fucking like school. I like taking courses. Sometimes I pay for them. Sometimes is an understatement. Let me underscore it all. So, yeah, I've spent well over $100,000 on higher education because I wanted to try different universities and different programs. So given that, I wasn't really like in video game mode for a long time. There was a time where I didn't even watch like movies, literally, like did not watch like movies, maybe like 1 or 2 a year, straight up, like for like 4 years straight. When I was back on the West Coast, I had Japanese international student roommates for 4 years. I was the only domestic student, and I just read a lot of books. And hustled in the streets because I was living in an upscale, affluent community, and though I had an uncle who raised me who was well off, and he treated me, well, just like I was one of his own sons. I mean, he treated me as if, I were his nephew, naturally, but I also lived with his 3 sons. And so, growing up in that household, we were well off. I'm just being honest. Like, we were, upper middle class. But then when I went to college, I'm on my own. So, I'm living in this fresh neighborhood north of Seattle, where, in fact, I'm just saying, it's the honest to God truth, where Jay Park, the Korean rapper Jay Park, he later took up residence there. I'm just saying, like, I lived in Edmonds, Washington, man. Edmonds, Washington was fucking dope. Because I'm from the north end. I'm from the north. I'm from the EVT. And coming from the EVT, there are certainly parts of the EVT that are upscale, posh, right along the coast, overlooking Possession Sound, the water, you know what I'm saying, which then begets the Puget Sound, larger Pacific Ocean. So, a lot of homes with bay windows and vaulted ceilings and large scale properties. And, I grew up in that neighborhood, man, and I used to party in those homes with friends from school. But then the other side of the EVT, there's some lower income housing, but then there's also some very beautiful homes on the riverside as well. The bay side, naturally, you're going to see mansions and whatnot. You don't really see any mansions on the riverside, but there are historic homes that if you were to take those beautiful turn-of-the-century historic properties and bring them out here to New York, man, they'd start at like fucking $2.5 million. Start. Maybe even more, man. Like, there are homes with just beautiful, gorgeous. Crafted by hand, not the new shit, man. Not this subpar material shit. I'm talking fucking homes that were built by master craftsmen and women. And, homes that could potentially last pretty much fucking forever. That type of shit isn't built anymore. But the riverside is like a middle class zone demographically. It's a lot of middle class and families, and then some lower income families. But again, there are properties on the riverside that are, they're expensive by Western standards, if depending on where you are. But the Bayside was on a grander scale. It's more built up, and homes more modern, and you had some mansions, some estates, and so the point is that that's where I grew up. That's where I grew up, right along the coast there. And so when I went to college, man, I'm on my own. Aside from student loans and working odd jobs and selling weed. But man, selling fucking weed, we weren't making a ton of money, man. It was just some extra money to buy some clothes and some food and pay for some bills here and there. But man, the economy was just fucked up, man. It was so dark back then. It was like living in the former Soviet Union. It really was, man. The economy was jacked up. Shit was gloomy. It was just a fucked up time. A lot of gang shit going on. A lot of drugs, a lot of crime. And the community just didn't look good. But depending on where you were, neighborhoods, some of them, they were, they still on the surface, man, they looked great, just magical, just the forever green state, man. Forever green state of Washington. Just beautiful landscape. And of course, this is before the documentary Seattle is Dying. Let's see. How long ago? What is this? 2000 coming up on 20? Basically almost 2020. So this was 20 years ago. This is 20 years ago. So 20 years ago, it was a different universe, different landscape, different Seattle, different EVT, Everett, different Riverside. Yeah, completely fucking different in a lot of ways. And that landscape, if you look at it now, man, through Google Images, the shit has morphed. It's the North End ain't the same. They got rid of the bowling alley. They took out a bunch of the different businesses there along the tip of the north there, and they just made it college land / opioid crisis addiction zone. It's split into two, man. The north end has always been split, like I said, between the Bayside and the Riverside. Opioid addiction, man, it doesn't have any socioeconomic barriers or restraints. I mean, you know, usually, man, cocaine, it's been stated, is a rich person's drug. But, you know, it's on both sides, man. It's in the Bay side. It's on the Bay side. It's on the River side. Same with heroin, opioids, OxyContins, you name it. The full gamut, full scope, full spectrum of drugs. I mean, it's everywhere, you know? I'm not saying everyone's doing it, like in society, but I'm saying, you know, it permeates throughout society, depending on where one is in parts. And it definitely is prevalent in North EVT, because North EVT was a bastion for gangs from all around the country. It's really odd, man. Well, I mean, you know, it makes sense because the high-intensity drug trafficking area with Interstate 5 that runs up and down the coast, EVT kind of is the last kind of, well, it used to be the last kind of metro, small, like metropolitan center north of Seattle before you'd get to Canada. So, like, it was kind of that northwest tip, man. I mean, it is, geographically speaking. But things have changed, man. Going up into Skagit Valley, Burlington, the 360 area code, up into Bellingham, like at that Bellis Fair Mall, like that little like land area right there. Blaine, that town that like the border's right there. I mean, those areas have grown, but metropolitan-wise, I mean, Everett was kind of like the last city, the last town, like north of Seattle before you're in Canada. I'm saying, like, Bellingham is the town, okay? Skagit Valley, Mount Vernon, those are towns. There's stuff going on up there. Excuse me. They have little downtown areas, shops. You know, they're building up. I know, I'm hip, man. I follow all of it. I mean, I see it all through satellite, and I follow trends, man, and I follow geospatial intelligence information. So I see where they're building up high-rises and shit, and Amazon's there now, and prices have gone up. But those towns, keep in mind, Mount Vernon used to be a little kind of country town, man. It was kind of sort of rural in some respects. Now, granted, they had the Burlington Mall up there, Mount Vernon, outlet stores and all this kind of stuff. Bellingham, you know, has, like I said, Bellis Fair Mall, or, you know, and so they had commerce. They had strip malls and shops and stores and storefronts and businesses and this and that. But Everett was not a big city, but it was more of a city. And it's the last, used to be, city in the Pacific Northwest, north of Seattle, before you'd get to Canada. And I know, man, because I'm from there, and I used to drive up to Canada on the weekends. Sometimes I'd go by myself. Sometimes I'd go with the homie, with the road dog. Sometimes we take 6 carloads up there. And we just get hotel rooms, man, and we just we just be co-lamping, you know, co-chilling, you know, just maxing out, just like up in the motel. Well, hotel. We didn't stay at any motels. Stayed at hotels, and we just go out and party, man, because you can drink in Canada when you're 19 years old. So anyway, when I was in college, man, like I said, before the economy was what it is now, booming, soaring, roaring, skyrocketing, the economy was quite the opposite. It was fucked up, man. And a lot of people where I'm from, man, they hustled because, well, if you're from where I'm from, man, you hustle or you die. I'm saying, man, you hustle or you fucking fold. You hustle or you fade. Yeah, people can say whatever they want. Grove, that's no excuse to commit crimes on the streets. Well, I'm not saying that it is, and I'm not glorifying it. It was dark, man. I wish I didn't have to sell weed. I wish I didn't have to sell fucking powder cocaine. I wish I didn't have to run guns. I wish I didn't have to pull licks with the homies, man. It was fucked up. It was dark. It was like some Lord of the Flies shit, man. It really was. And in a lot of respects, man, some of our neighborhood had fallen. I mean, man, There'd be gunshots, all kinds of shit. Police wouldn't show up for, I don't know, 8 hours. I'm just saying, man, it was a bunch of retirees. Man, people from World War II. A lot of senior citizens, and there'd be a lot of shit going on throughout the city. So, motherfuckers would be having house parties, there'd be fights, gunshots, you know what I'm saying, drive-bys. I'm talking drive-bys, like real LA gang shit. Like motherfuckers rolling up, pulling up, masked up, like blasting and shit. Yeah, that shit was going on, man, up and down the coast. These were fucking dark times, man. So, we were essentially a militia. I mean, because everybody that I know was armed. Men and women, young men and women. Everybody had guns, man. You couldn't really be where I'm from, man, and not have guns. You just couldn't. You just couldn't, man, because we're talking about ultra perilous times. We're talking about the era of NWA, Bone Thugs and Harmony, and every rap group that you can think of from the West Coast. Look, Ice-T was in the Army. Ice-T was in the U.S. Army and did the right thing. I thank him for his service. Even he was doing jewelry fucking heists at jewelry stores. Listen, I'm not saying that it's any excuse or that it makes it right. It's wrong. All the shit we did was fucking wrong. I mean, man, I never wanted to commit crimes. Who the fuck wants to commit crimes? Yeah, I know there are people who are criminally insane and they just want to, because they just love to commit crime. I was never that personality type. I'm like, yo, man, I don't want to be doing this shit. I mean, we got used to it, man. We acclimated to it, but we did it for survival, man. And I don't know anyone from 495 who really, truly just wanted to be out there breaking the law. We did it because we saw what was going on. We knew that there were rogue elements in our own government bringing drugs into our country. And we knew, man, that they were major powers. And the streets were flooded with dope. So, if you're where I'm from, jobs are limited. I'm just saying in your, childlike mind at the time, young adult mind, teenage mind, and you're looking around and you're like, okay, let's see. I don't have enough money to travel far and wide per se. I mean, I could ask a family member for a ticket somewhere, but they're going to be like, where are you going to go? What are you going to do when you get there? How are you going to get a job? Right? I did telemarketing. That was kind of my thing when I'd go and get a job. But man, minimum wage was $4.25 fucking cents. $4.25. $4.25. Yeah. So you'd work for 2 weeks and you get a paycheck for like $300. Come on, man. I was making, man, when I became an English honors student, I started at $35 an hour. This was fucking 15 years ago. 15 years ago, after so many years of college, when I became a teacher, I started at $35 an hour. That was beginning 15 fucking years ago. And that by East Coast standards was okay. Okay. I mean, look, man, the average salary out here on the East Coast, when I got here 15 years ago, the average salary was $1,777 per week. Per week. So that's over $3,500 fucking dollars every 2 weeks. That's $7,000 per month. That's on the average. There was no one fucking we didn't have those demographics where I'm from, man. Man, where I'm from, dude, motherfuckers was working fast food, grocery stores, you know what I'm saying? Telemarketing, at the mall and shit. At the mall. My sister used to work at the mall, man. She used to work at a tennis shoe store. And she also worked at a major department store. And I didn't know, man, but she was getting huge commissions. She bought a home. Working at the mall. I didn't even know you could do that. I was off in the street selling fucking dope. And then I found out because there was some time when I didn't talk to my sister for a long time, man. Some years and shit. And I was like, how the fuck did you buy a home? And she's like, oh, when I was working at the mall, I was getting paid commission. People were buying refrigerators and ranges and stoves and fucking, whatever, man, home appliances. And I was like, really? Man, I should have done that shit when I was in high school. I would have been fucking balling back when I was in high school. But you see, my sister wasn't selling dope. She wasn't in the game. She joined the Marines when she was fresh out of high school. She changed her mind, but she joined up, signed all the paperwork and shit. She was ready to go. And her husband was in Iraq at the time. Her husband at the time. So, and she also was making $80,000 a year. So she did all the right shit. I did all the wrong shit. Back then, I did all the wrong shit. But I'm just simply saying that even though she was balling, legit balling, making $80K a year, and, had bought a home at a young age, like fresh out of college with the 2-year college degree, she bought a home. A lot of my friends, who they had gone to college and had been in more extensive programs beyond 2 years. They didn't even have homes at the time, man. They didn't even buy. I'm just saying, like, my sister did well, man. She finessed it, man. She did it right. And, whereas I was out in the streets, man, selling dope, and minimum wage for anyone at the time, if you were trying to work legit, if you was getting paid, if you weren't like a highly skilled worker, like doing some type of construction or electrical work or, plumber or, this, that, right? Skilled labor, man, you were making fucking $4.25 an hour, G. $4.25 an hour. Imagine that. Federal minimum wage. Yo. So anyway, back to what I was saying. Imagine that though. Imagine that. $4.25 an hour. Now you know why I'm $4.95. Huh. Yeah. $4.95. $495. Yeah. Deep in Everett. Worldwide. 151 Riverside neighborhood. Man, we were in a vacuum. Quantum vacuum. And so you're a kid, man, and you grow up in this neighborhood where you're looking around and you're like, what are my options? I could get a job with the city, with the county. I could become a skilled laborer. And I think at the time, man, skilled laborers back in the early I knew one dude that was making like $24 an hour. $24 an hour for like a regular job back then seemed like that was a lot of money. Like, really? What the fuck, you get $24 an hour? What? Now imagine that's 5 times federal minimum wage at the time. So, yeah, I knew a dude, he did some construction shit, and he's getting paid $24 an hour. But he was also selling crack. Yeah, dude I grew up with. He was also selling crack. I mean, fuck, we all were. So anyway, point is, $24 an hour and selling crack on the side. The average person, minimum wage, $4.25. How can you live off $4.25? Obviously, you cannot. They said that the age group, when I saw the statistics, it was like ages 12 to 29. Like, I swear to God, half of my city was selling dope. I mean, like, people, like, motherfuckers who I know went to church. And then on the side, they'd be sipping on some drink. And then, like, at a club, bar, tavern, watering hole, like, doing under the table, like, moves with some bud sacks and some fucking powder cocaine and I'm just, look, man. Man, so many people were in on it. The town, man, that I'm from had less than 100,000 people. A lot of families, lot of crews, a lot of posses, a lot of sets, a lot of squads, a lot of mobs, a lot of gangs. Shit wasn't funny, man. I mean, it really was some, basically, man, it was out west, wild west shit. It was some, like, OK Corral, like, old west, out west saloon type shit, but with but with the mappings, like the real world matrix mappings of like the 1990s, like geometrically and like on the surface, topically speaking. Like, topically, it looked like the 1990s looked, but it was really some out west shit, man. I mean, I remember, like I said, man, the first time I ever saw a camouflage Desert Eagle and had that shit in my hands. This one dude was trying to rob this other dude, and the dude, we knew both of them. But the one cat, it was irrational for him to try to rob these dudes. And I knew them dudes, and that's who I was going to. And they had bricks, kilograms of dope. So I'm not fitting to let this one nigga rob these dudes. Because those dudes supplied our whole fucking network. So I can't let them get robbed. I mean, come on, man. And plus, man, if that nigga had robbed them, that nigga would have been fucking iced. That nigga would have been toast. Like, it would have been so retaliatory that, and in fact, some shit did happen to that nigga. I'm just saying, he ended up in prison in a fucked up situation for trying to set them niggas up. And the point is, man, I mean, those dudes, you know, they're from California, man, and they came deep. And you know, they came to the set because those were our plugs. And so I let them stay, man. I used to see $40,000, man, seeing $40,000 in fucking dope money counted, man, you know, was nothing. That was a daily operation. That was one dude. 40K counted was nothing. You know what I mean? I'm talking about $40,000, just, you know, like a money counter by hand. Shit was nothing. I'm just saying, man. Dark times, man. Dark fucking times. Nigga would come in. He'd have a paper bag with the beer and a blunt in it. He'd take the beer and the blunt out of the bag, take the razor blade that I supplied him off the fucking table where the dope was being chopped. He'd take a clean blade, cut it open, take the tobacco out. And while he rolled up a fucking blunt, I mean, this is one of my big dudes, man. While he rolled up a blunt, he'd fucking, he'd count up the money. Count it up. 40K. Put the fucking 40K in the paper bag. Just crazy shit. Take the blunt, dip it in the Sherm stick. Man, that shit was fucking crazy. This nigga was so high one time, man. His other homies from California were all at the spot, and they're playing the PlayStation, the first one. And this nigga was so wetted up on the Sherm. He was doing this thing, man, with this like he was doing some like kind of Irish, like the Irish like river dance shit. And he was out of his fucking whacked out of his mind. He kept opening and closing the door, and his homies were laughing at him like, nigga, what the fuck is you doing? He said that there was a horse at the door. That there was a horse at the door with no head. And it's like, nigga, what the fuck is you goddamn talking about? And he's like, there's a horse. There's a horse. There's a horse at the door, and he doesn't have a head. And they're like, well, what does he want? Tell him to go away. Shit was fucking pure insanity. I'm saying, man, the West Coast was fucking ill. It was, like Nas says, illmatic. This shit was ultra illmatic. Just saying, man, you'd walk outside, the gangs are right there. Even grandma, I'm not saying my grandma, but even Ma. Even Ma's out on the block. I'm saying an old girl from her neighborhood, her mother, her mom, her ma is out on the block. Big woman. You know what I'm saying? She's a big gal. Man, it took like 6 grown men to move her fucking sofa. That shit was like box spring. That shit was like a tank. Took like six grown ass men to lift that shit into one of those industrial sized dumpsters. We had a lot of beer bottles. We had some rooms filled with beer bottle bags and shit. Because we threw house parties. But yeah, man, Ma was in on it. You know what I'm saying? Like the neighborhood, there were lookouts. But man, look. Man, you'd see youngsters out on the block pistoled up, just like Chicago. The shit they're doing in Chicago now, man, we was doing that shit too. I'm just saying, man, the shit was unstoppable. You couldn't stop it. You could get out on the streets and preach. You could get out on the streets and try to mentor and, talk to folks and shit. Niggas wasn't hearing none of that shit. Fuck no. When they see motherfuckers rolling up in Cadillacs, Cadillac DeVilles, you know what I'm saying? Niggas having Monte Carlos and Regals and, you know what I'm saying? Man, any type of, like, vehicle you can think of. Because this West Coast. Lowriders, this and that, Lexus, fucking Altima, you know what I mean? Motherfuckers, Mercedes-Benz, niggas flossing, flamboyant ass niggas. I'm just, man, spinners on their car. You name it. We was doing all that shit. Porsche. Yeah, I know a nigga who was rocking the Porsche. Man, I mean, just the Jaguar. Same nigga with the Porsche had the Jaguar. I mean, motherfuckers just wilding out, man, like Nick Cannon and shit. You feel me? And it was everywhere, man. It was inescapable. You couldn't run from it. You could go and get you a little job down at the warehouse or something, man. Down at the lumber yard. Get you a little job at Boeing or whatever, man. But quite frankly, man, a lot of them cats, they be out at the bar, the club and shit at nighttime, powdering up. You know, Boeing engineers, man, getting they powder on and shit. What was it? First Thursday? Last Thursday? Something about Thursday payday. I can't remember, man. I try to push that shit out of my mind. Shit was a quarter of a century ago. Shit was fucking ultra ill. Mad shit. Hold up, let me do the math. 1990. Okay, so I was gang banging back in the 80s. And then the 90s went hard on the gang shit. So 90 to 2000. Nah, man, it's been fucking over 30 years. This shit was 35 years ago. Man, let's see, when did I join? Okay, I was in the Black Widows gang for like a week. And then after Black Widows, then I was hanging out with some Crips. Never officiated. Never became a Crip officially. Considered it. Then I was like, I don't know. And then I met some niggas, some Samoans. And some brothers from California. And some Asian dudes. And they knew that I played sports and that I was out in the streets. And they knew that I was hanging out with these Crip dudes. And they was like, Grove, fuck them, the derogatory, the slang. I'm just saying, like, I have homies who are Crips and Bloods. And I got courted in the Blood. So as a Bloods inactive gang member, I'm not active in the gang shit. But I'm still part of the gang. I mean, I'm still gang shit. Still Bloods. Eastside Piru. You be in or you be out. Yeah, that's United Blood Nation. Point is, they was like, bro, what the fuck you doing hanging out with them Ricketts? And I was like, what? It's like, man, fuck them niggas, man, with them flu flags. I'm just saying that's how they talk back then. You know? Hey, Crips used to call us slobs. They'd be like, you fucking slobs, obs. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes they wouldn't even say slob. They just truncate it and just say obs because they don't even want to say slob. Fucking slobs. You know what I'm saying? They call us Dairus and shit. Fucking Dairu. You know what I'm saying? Some cold shit. But I don't set tread. And I'm not an active gang member. You know what I'm saying? I'm not actively, when I say active, I'm talking about criminally active. I'm not a criminal. I'm not on any criminal shit. Yeah, I'm part of the rap group Criminal Alliance. I'm saying, man, 495 is a branch of CA. Yeah, CA is an organization. It's a West Coast-based organization. CA, Criminal Alliance. The reason we call it Criminal Alliance, is because is that the police, they called us criminals before we were actually criminals. And we were like, man, fuck these police, man. Let's show them what some so-called criminals can do. Like, before we were criminally active, we were just writers. Like, we had a writing, like, group. And I was a skateboarder, so I was athletic. And the cops, back where I'm from, man, at the time, they were dicks, man. They were fucking punks. They were un-American. They wanted to be Nazis. They wanted to be Gestapos. They wanted to be fascist. And so they would just fuck with us, man. What are you riding the skateboard for, kid? Snatch up our skateboards and fucking snap them in half. Put them under their patrol cars. I mean, come on, man. When the police do some shit to you like that, and then you see these niggas in the streets getting hella dough, and you're like, the police are fucking punks, man. You know? They're doing crime, and you know they're letting the dope in, and you know they're getting paid off. So you're like, man, fuck all this noise, man. I ain't making $4.25 an hour, man. I'm about to make $425 a second. You know what I'm saying? Sit up in the hotel, make $20,000 in a weekend type shit. You know what I'm saying? Man, fuck these crooked ass police, man. Because they're in on it too. They're the ones that are bringing the drugs in, letting the drugs go. You know, looking the other way, getting paid off by the drug cartels, mobs and shit. So back then, though it wasn't right, though it wasn't legit and it wasn't cool, shit, I joined up with the Bloods. It's like, come on, Grove. You's truly a B-dog, homie. Come on, you with us. I was like, all right, if that's finna be how we rock, then we finna rock. And that was the case. But, you know, shout outs to Bloods and Crips in y'all's respective communities, doing positive things, not actively involved in criminal activities. Hey, there's some Bloods and Crips, man, like me, that don't be involved in criminal shit. They come from that lifestyle, man. And though they still flag, they ain't involved in anything criminal, man. They be trying to do good shit for society now, man, to make up for the wrong that they did. That's real shit, helping out kids, you know what I'm saying, soup kitchens, raising money, you know what I'm saying, for good causes, cleaning up trash in the neighborhood, man, organizing anti-violence, like, you know what I'm saying, campaigns and shit. I'm fucking serious, you know? We tied up flags, man, blues and reds, after the Rodney King incident. I understand Rodney King, he might not have been a nice guy in the first place, but I'm saying, man, when the police beat him down, I mean, all the shit came out just about police beating motherfuckers down for no reason anyway, whether he was in the right or the wrong. That shit erupted into major violence. But yeah, man, so, you know, that's some shit that not a lot of people know. And again, man, I don't glorify it, but you know, when Bloods and Crips tied up those flags to make purple, to then make green, you know what I'm saying? It changed the dynamics, man. When those cops beat up Rodney King, you know, I get it. He might have not been in the right. But the point is, man, just seeing that shit, people were like, man, fuck these police, man. You know, doing that shit. He wasn't the only person who they did that shit, man. They used to beat us down. I mean, and so it erupted into that shit up and down the West Coast. There were protests. And Bloods and Crips, man, the police, they never thought the Bloods and Crips would come together like that, ever. And that's what happened. That was the unintended, that was one of the consequences, man. That was one of the results. Bloods and Crips. I mean, look, there's still places where people, they gangbang and shit, man. You can see the statistics. But I'm saying for the most part, cats don't bang against each other out on the West Coast like they used to, man. Those gang wars are over. I mean, there's a new generation of cats out stirring up trouble, doing shit, you know what I'm saying? But the OGs, you know, the generation that I'm from, out west, it ain't the gang wars that it used to be. Those wars are over. Those police, drug wars, police gang, crack, drug wars, that shit's over, man. I grew up during that time, man. I was in those wars. So on the flip side of that, man, it's awesome seeing these video games come back that predate everything that I just shared with you, man. I saw where ColecoVision's back. ColecoVision. Straight up, ColecoVision is back. They have the consoles, man, that are coming back that you can buy. They had the Intellivision, Activision. I'm like, what? I was literally just talking about Activision and Intellivision and ColecoVision because it was all Vision back then in terms of like the video game systems. I'm seeing that shit. Atari has come back, and you know what blew my fucking mind? Atari has I'm talking cartridges. Like the Atari. Like the first shit. Atari just made a comeback. What is it called? The Flashback 9? Is it Flashback 9 or some shit? I have to look it up again. Atari has a game system that is the original Atari game system made new for the 21st century. And they made new fucking games. Dude, that shit is so tight. That shit is righteous. I love that because that's what I was doing, man, before the wars. Before the gang, drug, police, drug gang crack wars. Before the wars, that's what I was doing, man. I was playing Atari, Nintendo Entertainment System, playing with my G.I. Joes, man. Before these motherfuckers decided that they wanted to go to war. Drugs, gangs, crack, opium, heroin, rackets, racketeering, black markets, cartels, mobs. Come on, man. I was happy just playing my video games. So, when I was in college, man, I had to hit the books. Man. So I hit the books. And those books became my video games. I've never owned a PlayStation. I've never owned a PS1, 2, 3, or 4. Never owned an Xbox. But, yeah. I'm about to pick up one. I think I'm going to get the PS4. That's what folks keep telling me to do. They're like, bro, if you're going to get one or the other, get the PS4. And then this Korean cat who I met, he told me to get the VR shit. He fucks with the VR. He says the VR's dope. I tested VR technology for the U.S. government. I can't go into details about what I did on that project, but I've used VR before for government research that I was paid for. But I've never used it to game. I mean, we used it for simulations, but I've never used it to play like a PlayStation. So probably go and check that out. And yeah, man, I'm back in school. You know, I'm in and out of school. I mean, I'm always in school, but I'm back in my studies, man. I'm back in my studies full time. And it's all engineering, science, technology, engineering, mathematics from here on out. I'm Once Growth. Thanks for tuning in to yet another episode of C4CW, casting 495 celebrities worldwide. Rhyme traveling.